The following is a WGN-TV sports presentation.
We're in the Big Apple. We're at Shea Stadium. The Knicks have been eliminated by the Bulls. The Mets are losing. The Yankees are not doing so hot. And the town is not in a good mood. And so the Cubs must face Dwight Gooden tonight, who has beaten them 25 times while losing only 4 times. Stay with us for all the thrills coming away in a moment. Sure. Hello again, everybody. Harry Caray with Steve Stone. We're at Shea Stadium, the home of the New York Mets, and it's not a very happy home. Things are not going well for the Mets. They're not going too well for the Cubs either, but much better than the Mets.
And Dwight Gooden is going to the mound for the Mets. As you know, he's 25-4 lifetime against the Cubs. Frank Castillo is going to the mound for the Cubs, and he's promising to work a little faster tonight. Hopefully, Harry, he'll work fast enough to get a win and put the Cubs at the 500 mark.
You know that Gooden is 14-1 here at Shea Stadium against the Cubs and 11-3 at Wrigley Field. So if there is a law of averages, he should finally lose one tonight. Stay with us. We'll have the starting lineups coming your way in a moment. Hello again, everybody. Harry Caray with Steve Stone and Tom Brennaman, our national anthem.
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Michael Foster singing our national anthem. The lineup for the Chicago Cubs, presented by Pepsi. Dwight Smith in center, Vizcaíno at second, Grace at first, Derek May in left, Buechele at third, Wilkins at catcher, Sosa in right field, Sanchez at short, and Frank Castillo, who's 1-1, lost 3, and he's making his 10th start of the season. The defensive alignment for the Mets, Coleman at left, Orsolak in center, Phenia in right, Hojo Johnson at third, Fernandez at short, Kent at second, Murray at first. Behind the plate is Todd Hundley, son of Randy Hundley, the former Cubs great catcher, and Dwight Gooden, who has won 14 and lost only 1 to the Cubs here in this ballpark, while beating them 11 and losing only 3 in Chicago, making an overall record of 25-4. His last outing, he beat the Cubs 11-3 and Castillo at Wrigley Field last week. From all that, it doesn't look so good, but you never know about baseball.
The last time the Cubs beat Dwight Gooden in this ballpark was back on August 9th of 1987. His 25 wins against the Cubs are the most by any National League pitcher against an opponent. The only American League pitcher who's beaten the team more is Jack Morris, who has a 31-11 career record against Cleveland. So Gooden among the elite in all of baseball, pitching against the Chicago Cubs, and hopefully tonight the Cubs will give him a different look. They've got more left-hand batters in the lineup. One of the guys not playing, Ryne Sandberg. One of the reasons he's not playing is, 1, he's given an off night to rest, and 2, the fact that lifetime against Gooden, he's 13 out of 108. So Rhino taking the night off. You take a look at Dallas Green, the man who was piloting this team, and I talked to some of the Mets people. I asked him if there's any changes since Dallas took over. He said, yes, most definitely. It's louder now in the clubhouse.
Let me think about that statement a moment.
Well, they're not doing much better, Harry. They just lost 3 games in a row to Houston at Houston. And this team is 9-19 on the road. And it was figured out that although they're 10 under on the road, in those 28 games, they've had the lead in 24 of them. So Dallas Green is finding out what Jeff Torborg already knew. Just because you go ahead in a ball game, they play 9 innings in the major leagues, and you got to have some guys in that bullpen that can hold some people down late in the game.
You know, I read a New York paper today, and as I read it, I thought, sure, I was reading things that Jim Lefevre was saying about his ball club. And it turned out it was Dallas Green talking about the Mets. And the same dialogue of the little things, and couldn't get a hit when it really counted. The pitcher made a bad pitch. And all that adds up to losing, no matter whether you're with the Mets or with the Cubs. And whether your name is Dallas Green or Jim Lefevre. Those are things that losing teams don't do compared to winning teams that do those things. Get the fly ball when you need it. Get the base hit when you need it. Get the batter out when you have to get them out. And that's the line, as I see it, between winning and losing.
Well, unfortunately, when you play a last-place team, and the Mets are 18-35 coming into this game, looking up at the Florida Marlins, in fact, they're 6 games in back of the Marlins, the Mets in last place in the division. Anytime you get a chance to play a team like that, you have to be very happy, unless your opponent is Dwight Gooden. There you see the standings, and it's hard to believe the expansion Marlins just 5 games under 500. 6 games ahead of the New York Mets who are in last place. But this team doesn't play like a last place team when Dwight Gooden goes to the mound. Gooden is 2 games over 500 for a team that's 17 games under 500. And Dwight's 3rd in the league in earned run average. He is still a spectacular pitcher, and the Cubs certainly have their hands full tonight with a big right-hander.
And speaking of the Florida Marlins, they have lost all of 1 game. They have lost 3 games more than the Cubs, and they've won only 1 game less than the Cubs, and they only trail the Cubs in the standings by 2 games. And you're talking about an expansion team. And so it's a frustrating start of a year for the Cubs. If you'd have seen the Cubs last night against Montreal, who had just beaten them 3 in a row, who had their unbeaten pitcher Ken Hill going to the mound, it was the Cubs that looked like the world champions, not Montreal. Everything the Cubs did was right. Greg Hibbert, everything he pitched was to the mark. He pitched 7 2/3 innings. He scored his 7th victory of the season. He's one of the leading pitchers in the National League. He's only 1 victory behind the leader. So how can you look so good one day and look so bad another one?
Well, you always say it, Harry, that's baseball. But unfortunately for the Cubs, and I did see the game last night on ESPN, and they did look like a very sound ball club. But when you win 1 out of 4, even if you look terrific in that 1, you're still playing .250 baseball. And the Cubs 1-3 on this road trip. They've got 3 here, 3 in San Francisco. And they would like to make it a pretty decent trip, but they've got to start here tonight against Dwight Gooden.
And here's the first pitch to Dwight Smith. Swung on. High fly ball in the left field will be an easy out. Smith on the first pitch flies to Vince Coleman. Smith had 2 out of 4. In the game, the Cubs were beaten 11-3 when the Mets exploded with 7 runs in the 4th off Frank Castillo, who is Gooden's opponent again tonight. And here is Jose Vizcaino playing second in place of Sandberg tonight.
Vizcaino will lay down a bunt, but Gooden is tough to bunt against because he throws a lot of high fastballs.
There's a fastball under a strike call. Vizcaino is 2 out of 11 for the year against Mets pitching. And he was 1 out of 4 against Gooden in Wrigley Field last week.
Well, if Dwight Gooden gets that high fastball away, the Cubs are in trouble tonight, and Terry Tata just called one that Jose Vizcaino was not too happy about.
Struck him out over the inside corner. 3 pitches. Oh, that was a good fastball over the inside corner, just above the knee. And Vizcaino's not the only guy who would have been called out on that pitch.
Well, we had Dwight Gooden at 95 miles an hour in Wrigley Field against the Cubs during the daytime. This will be under the lights, although the lights have not taken hold yet. And if Gooden is throwing the same kind of stuff he threw at the Cubs in Wrigley, he's going to be doubly tough under the lights.
There's the pitch a little low. Boy, he's a big, powerful guy, 6'3", 200 pounds, only 28 years old. He's been pitching in the National League 10 years already, and he's only 28. He came up out of Tampa when he was only 18. He was the 5th player taken in the 1982 draft. The #1 man taken was Sean Dunston. The Cubs took him. When it came to Mets' turn, 4 players later, they took Doc Gooden. Here's a pitch a little low. Gooden had to go through an ailing period. Had an operation on his arm, but he's back pitching probably as good as he ever did. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Here's a hot shot on the ground past Kent. Might be an error, might be a hit. Kent at second base. It's an error on Kent. At second base, Dallas Green has been alternating 3 different second basemen, and all have been found wanting.
7th error of the year on Jeff Kent, and he does not have good hands. We saw it in Wrigley Field. He really struggles. He makes the double play fine. He can throw very well, and he looks like he's got a chance to be a good hitter. But he has had all kinds of problems picking up the baseball.
Here now, Derek May, who was a pinch hitter, hit 2 home runs in Montreal. Was a star last night.
Derek has a 9-game hitting streak, and he's going to try to perpetuate that streak against Dwight Gooden, a mighty tough customer.
Now the pitch. Bouncing ball. Kent, hey! Fumbles it! Save! Another error on Kent. And listen to the small Mets crowd. 2nd error in a row. This was even a more routine play than the first one.
Well, we told you about the problems with the hands of Jeff Kent, and you couldn't ask for an easier play than this. Looked like a routine grounder. He was going to go to Tony Fernandez at shortstop. Then with that play out, he decides to go to first, and he can't get Derek May hustling down the line. So 2 routine grounders, 2 errors, and Gooden's in trouble.
Now here's where you have to take advantage. I know there's 2 out, but they give you 2 base runners. Now a base hit can cause damage. Here's Buechele, but he's only hitting .240 for the year. 6 homers, 23 RBI. Right down the middle of fastball.
You got to figure, Harry, that a ground ball to second base is a pretty good play right here.
Well, he's got to catch 1 out of 3.
You never know.
0-1 the count. Now the pitch. Oh, boy. He missed the curveball from here to Chicago. Boy, oh boy, did he ever miss that by a wide margin.
And if you're on the mound and you're Dwight Gooden, you're thinking to yourself, I'd best strike this man out and take it out of the hands of my defense.
Now ready? And the pitch. Whoop, hit by a pitch ball. With a count of no balls, 2 strikes, Doc Gooden trying to force him away from the plate, thinking ahead to the next pitch when he'd strike him out with a curveball. Hit him instead. And now here's Rick Wilkins with the bases loaded.
And Harry, this is why I hate the setup pitch. That was quite obviously a setup pitch for the next curveball. And instead of setting him up for the next curveball, you send him to first base with loads of bases, and you bring up a red-hot hitter in Rick Wilkins.
Now, here's the difference between winning a game and losing a game. When you get opportunities like this, Wilkins is up there in a spot with the bases loaded, but there are 2 out. Wilkins, for the year, is hitting 2 out of 8, 250 average against the Mets. He's hit 7 home runs. Swing, gets around late on a fastball, fouls it into the stand. And the stands are sparsely occupied.
Well, you've got to win in New York if you're going to draw people. And they are not winning in New York, and they are not drawing too many people.
Bases are loaded. 2 men are out. Rick Wilkins has been on a hot streak, hitting .361 with 5 home runs in his last 21 games. Boy, continue that streak right here. No balls, 1 strike. The pitch. Ground ball to the first baseman. The inning is over. So, no runs, no hits, 2 errors, 3 left. We go in the bottom of the first, no score. Harry Caray back at Shea Stadium. Here's the Mets lineup. Coleman in left, Fernandez and Sharp, Murray at first. Bonilla in right, Ursulak in center, Johnson at third. Kemp, the second baseman, Hundley catching. Dwight Gooden pitching, and the defensive alignment of the Cubs presented by Pepsi. May in left, Smith in center, and Sosa in right. Buechel, Sanchez, Vizcaíno, and Grace. Castillo pitching, Wilkins catching. And here we go with Vince Coleman leading off. He was 2 out of 3 against Castillo in Chicago last week.
Maury Wills worked with Vince Coleman in spring training, trying to teach him how to bunt, and they worked long and hard teaching him how to bunt. But it really didn't work very well for Coleman, who has but 4 bunt hits. And if they've hardened up the first base area, it's so Vince Coleman can steal a few more bases here at home.
That's all right. That's perfectly legitimate. There's a pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, that's a home field advantage. Or, Harry, they ran out of water before they could water down the first base area. And with the Cubs, a relatively slow club, and the Mets with Vince Coleman and 25 stolen bases, you can understand why they'd want it a little hard around first base.
Now ready to pitch. Swung and he fouled it into the stand. Well, that's like letting the grass grow a little higher on your infield if you got sinker ball pitchers.
And if you have a left side like the Cubs had in '84 of Larry Bow and Ron Cey, the grass was close to thigh high.
1 ball, 2 strikes. I just want you to know everything's fair in baseball. Coleman. And the pitch. Struck him out. Boy, that pitch looked like a hit. Would have hit him in the spikes. That's how low it was. But he's called out.
Vince Coleman's not real happy with this one. That one's just off the shoe tops, and Coleman can't believe that Terry Tato rang him up. Now, I don't know if he thought that Coleman swung at the pitch. It didn't look like he did. But Frank Castillo doesn't have to worry about Vince Coleman stealing any base. He didn't swing at it, but it looks like he's rung up on a called third.
What? Well, are you kidding me? Well, 1 out. And here is Tony Fernandez. Fastball in there, a strike is called.
Castillo making his 11th appearance. It's his 10th start of the year and his 2nd start against the Mets as you look at the very unhappy Vince Coleman.
Now the pitch a little bit high. Boy, how about that fight the Orioles had yesterday?
And that was a good one with Seattle.
Boy, and Rick Sutcliffe was right in the middle of it. One thing about Rick, boy, he goes to protect his to help his teammates out. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Line drive, left field, base hit for Fernandez. Now, in the game a few days ago, exactly 5 days ago to be exact, Castillo was knocked out in 3 2/3 innings, giving up 10 hits and 7 runs. And Fernandez had 2 out of 3 against him before Castillo was knocked out.
Well, after that performance, Frank Castillo was talked to by Jim Lefevre, Billy Connors, and Larry Hines about getting a lot more confidence and working more quickly, and it seems to have paid off at least early in this one because he's staying on the mound and not taking any trips around the mound.
Throw to first, runner back. Eddie Murray. He got his 2,600th hit, I think, the other day, yesterday.
And he's grounded into 7 double plays this year. Fernandez, 6 out of 8 in the stolen base department.
Fouled it back. Boy, he gets a cut. He may be 38 years old, or 37, but he's still a fine hitter, Eddie Murray. 5 out of 12 against the Cubs this season. Hitting .283 all told. 5 homers, 30 RBI. Castillo stepped off the rubber. We're near LaGuardia. You'll hear the motors of the airplanes. From time to time, it's high.
Eddie Murray is probably headed to the Hall of Fame when his career is over. I was talking with Tom McCraw before the game. He's a hitting instructor of this team, and he marvels at the fact that more Met hitters don't talk hitting with Eddie Murray on a consistent basis. He said he's the best clutch hitter on this team, and he says he has a great idea every time he goes up there what a pitcher is going to try to do with him. He said he will adjust from at bat to at bat, and with runners in scoring position, there's nobody tougher on the Mets than Eddie Murray.
The pitch. Fooled on the off-speed pitch, and he fouls it off. Well, Iowa was beaten last night in New Orleans 7-6. And now 135, lost 18. Eddie Zambrano extended his hitting streak to 12 games with 2 out of 4, and he hit his 12th home run. Having a good year. Fastball inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
This is a pretty good park to hit. It's 338 down the lines. It's 358 to left center. 371 as we move out, and 410 to straightaway center. But if you pull the ball between the 371 and the 338 mark, the ball shoots out of here at Shea Stadium.
He whirls as if to make a play, but he broke his contact with the rubber first. Eddie Murray. Switch hitting first baseman. Bouncing foul.
So far, Dallas has decided that he wants to keep the right side hole open, the one between Grace and Vizcaino. He has not run with Fernandez. I wouldn't be surprised if Fernandez is going on this 2-2 pitch, if nothing else but to stay out of the double play if Eddie Murray hits a ground ball, because Murray does not run particularly well.
Throw over there. There's Greg Hibbert, the winner last night in Montreal. There is Mike Morgan to his left hand, Billy Williams to his right. There he goes. Little pop fly might be able to turn into a double play. Here's a throw. They do. Fernandez went. The hit and run was on. Murray broke his bat as he popped up, and Vizcaino doubled up Fernandez. At the end of 1, no score. the crowd.
Every game's a blast.
Harry Caray back at Shea Stadium, and here is Sammy Sosa to lead it off. Eddie Murray has 2,700 hits now during his major league career.
Tony Fernandez is running, and Eddie pops it up. Then it's easy. It goes 4-3 in the inning double play. Makes Carex donate $100 to Cubs Care.
Sammy Sosa back in the lineup tonight. He held up on a fastball, which is high. They say that a high fastball is a pitch you gotta lay off of against Gooden.
Well, not like Sid Fernandez, Harry. The high fastball just explodes up around the letters. If you make him come down, you got a chance.
High again. 2 balls and the strike.
That's the one you have to lay off of, because very few guys can get on top of that one and hit a line drive. Usually if you do swing, you pop it up or just swing through it. Make Dwight get around belt high, and you got a chance on the fastball.
Whoop, high. Man, I like to have the gun on those pitches he's throwing tonight. I'll bet you he's faster than 95 than he was in Chicago.
He's throwing awfully hard, and the Cubs would love to get Sammy on to lead off the inning. He's 8 for 9 in the stolen base department.
Swung and he missed. Let's pause here for identification.
This is WGN-TV Chicago, America's #1 sports station.
Three balls, 2 strikes. Struck him out on a high fastball. It would have been ball 4.
Well, it's tough to walk Sammy in the best of times, and this one is up head high. And this is the one we said you got to lay off of. That's well out of the strike zone. You just can't catch up with it up there, Sammy boy. So have a seat and try it the next time.
Here's Sanchez. 1 out, nobody on. Castillo on deck. Fouls the pitch out of play. This is the 2nd straight time this year Castillo's pitched against the Mets and has drawn Doc Gooden as his mound opponent. Curveball, a little bit low and outside.
It's almost like the '72 Phillies, Harry. When I was in the league facing the Phillies, it seemed like every time we played, and bear in mind they only won 59 games that year, I would get Steve Carlton, who won 27 of those games. So when you face the Phillies, they were an easy team to beat, unless you happen to get Carlton, who was 27-10, and then they were almost impossible to beat. It's like 2 different teams.
Can you imagine that? There's a looper in the left field, a base hit for Sanchez. That has to be one of the most remarkable pitching achievements. With your team winning only 59 games, he won 27.
It was an unbelievable year. I remember one night, pitched in San Francisco, Chris Spire led off the game with a base hit up the middle. We never even got close to another hit again. And that was a power-packed giant lineup of Willie McCovey and Willie Mays and Bobby Bonds. Just an unbelievable team. And yet Carlton was just too tough. And he was too tough for a lot of teams in 1972.
Let me tell you, I did the game. I was broadcasting for the Cardinals when Steve was with them. And one night he struck out 19 Mets and lost the ball game on 2 home runs by Ron Swoboda, 4-2. Castillo is going to sacrifice a pitch inside. Frank's made himself a pretty good hitter. He's 3 out of 16 now, tied with Mike Harkey in total hits.
Frank does have 1 sacrifice this year, but you can't bunt the high fastball because it's too easy to pop it up.
All high, ball 2. Castillo now has 14 major league hits during his career, all of them been singles. Runner at first, 1 out. Hojo Johnson playing very shallow, ready to charge the plate. The bunt is, they're going to make a play at second base. Out. Sanchez was forced. Eddie Murray made a fine play, followed with a good throw, and just barely beat Sanchez.
Eddie Murray came in with an idea that he was going to second if this ball is bunted this hard, and he just turns around, no hesitation, makes a very good play and cuts down the lead man in Ray Sanchez. So Castillo did a pretty good job of getting the bunt down, but he bunted it too hard, and Murray turns it into a very good effort.
Fastball high. Well, one thing about Doc Gooden, he hasn't pitched a no-hit game yet in the major leagues. And tonight's another night that he won't.
Well, no Met ever has, Harry, so he had a lot of tradition going against him tonight.
1 ball, no strikes. Curveball low. 2 balls, no strikes, 2 out. Cubs had a marvelous opportunity given to them in the first. 2 errors and a hit batsman fill the bases. Fouled out of play. But Wilkins grounded to Eddie Murray to retire the side.
Outfield straight away and a little deeper than normal for Dwight Smith because they know that they have to cut off the double. In this situation, you give up the single, you can't allow Castillo to score from first.
There's a strike call. Gooden has pitched 3 complete games. There's a fly ball, center field, going to be caught to retire the side. We go in the bottom of the second, no score. Harry Caray and Steve Stone as we go into the bottom of the second. Bobby Bonilla will be leading it off. Charlie Meyer from Lincoln, Nebraska, wishing his grandmother, sends his greeting. She's watching the game in Fremont, Nebraska.
The Mets on a home run tear. They've hit 13 home runs their last 8 games, led by Bonilla, who has 14.
Pulls a foul into the Mets dugout.
Now Castillo has given up 6 home runs in 51 1/3 innings. And hopefully tonight he'll be able to keep the ball in the ballpark, although it's a very calm night here in New York. 75 degrees at game time and a beautiful evening.
Fouls it out of play. Phenia during his career has hit the Cubs for 23 home runs. You know, Eddie Murray during his career now has 419 homers. There's a smash, right field, base hit. Phenia.
I'd like to pass along birthday greetings to Sally Kowal, the wife of Connie Kowal, who works in the front office for the Cubs. And we hope all is going well in the Kowal household.
A group of youngsters here from St. Joe, Michigan. They have Cub flags on the bleachers. They're making a tour of the Major League ballparks. They saw games in Toronto. They're going to see one in Cleveland. They're going to see the Red Sox and Andre Dawson. And their note says the American League is boring. They are Cub fans. There's a curveball outside and high.
Orsulak is the best bunter on this team. He's got 5 infield hits this year. 3 of them have been bunts. He only plays half the time, and he's done a very good job. After having a big year with Baltimore last year, they decided to let him go via the free agent route. He came here to New York, and he and Gallagher platooning in center field, hitting .301 as a team.
Another base hit. And runners are on at first and second. Now, Orsulak had 1 out of 2 against Castillo. Bobby Bonilla hit a home run off Castillo in the game 5 days ago at Wrigley Field where they beat the Cubs 11-3.
Orsulak takes it through the right side, just past Mark Grace. He can't get to it. And Frank Castillo in trouble because Howard Johnson has grounded in only 1 double play this year and is a 120-point better hitter from the left side than he is from the right. And of course, against Castillo, he will hit as a left-hand hitter, where all 5 of his home runs have come.
Pitch a little high. There's a bunch of youngsters from St. Joe, Michigan, are on the Good Sports Tours.
Outfield very deep for Johnson, who was back and healthy after having his left shoulder operated on last year along with both knees. This year, no surgeries planned.
Now the pitch swung at him.
That's the way to go with Johnson because he's looking dead fastball. He's a pull hitter from the left side. The outfield swung around for him. Derek May well off the line in left. And Johnson is very susceptible to anything off speed.
You know, the Mets have a total of 9 switch hitters on their roster. There's a line drive into center field, a base hit. There's a runner going to score. Johnson, single to center, driving in Bonilla.
RBI number 22 for Howard Johnson. This is a rolling curveball without much on it. At least at this point of the season, Frank Castillo just doesn't have an out pitch. Last year it was his straight change, but he would get ahead of hitters and use the straight change to wipe them out. This year he's missing with the straight change, and when he goes to the fastball or his curve, neither have been too impressive in the early going, and Frank's struggling once again.
Boy, last year and in spring training, he seemed to have great stuff. You figured he could be one of these 12 to 15-game winners. This year, they all hit him very hard. That's 4 hits off him already. Make it 5. A line drive in the left. Racing for the plate. 2-0 Mets. Orsulak scored.
I would think that Billy Connors would have to have a word with Frank Castillo and that they have to get this bullpen up and going. 4 straight base hits, all of them hit very hard. This is a first ball fastball right down the middle, and Frank doesn't have too much on it as Kent rifles it into left field, driving in run number 19. And the Cubs have fallen behind to Dwight Gooden, their longtime nemesis.
Jeff Kent at first. Mojo Johnson at second. Phenia and Orsulak have already scored. And the bullpen goes to work. Here comes Jim Lefevre out. Plesac starts warming up.
Cub fans, get your free copy of the 1993 Chicago Cubs gift catalog by calling toll-free 1-800-745-CUBS. The Cubs gift catalog offers hundreds of unique and exciting gifts for your favorite Cubs fan. Call and order your Cubs gift catalog today at 1-800-745-CUBS.
In an inning with nobody out here in the second, 5 hits for the Mets. I think there's a curveball. Hundley, who's hit 2 home runs against the Cubs this year, hitting .221, 6 homers, 21 RBI.
Well, Hundley has been a dead pull hitter. Doesn't matter if he swings from the left or right side. And Castillo looking for a ground ball and a double play. There's an example of the changeup, and if you don't get it over, you certainly have to come at Hundley now with something other than the change, and that's where Frank winds up in some difficulty as Wilkins goes out, telling him not to lay a fastball in there, that this man does have some power. And Todd Hundley has not grounded into a double play this year in 140 at-bats, and that is almost unbelievable for a catcher.
The Mets have won 2 out of 3 from the Cubs. That's the only team in the Eastern Division they have beaten. There go the runners. Line drive, left field, base hit. Another run racing for the plate. Hundley with the hit run on. Both runners breaking. Makes it 3-0.
RBI number 22 is Todd Hundley does something he doesn't usually do, and that's go to left field. That's because it is a hit and run, and he had to protect the runners. Howard Johnson scoring easily, and just like that, it's 3-0 as Castillo taking a pounding here in the second.
And Doc Gooden in Chicago last week against Castillo, he had 2 out of 2. Scored 2 runs. Here's Gooden. Castillo whirled, no play.
Dwight Gooden was going to bunt, and that's probably doing the Cubs a favor because this guy can really hit. Dwight hitting .286 this year. He only has 1 sacrifice, but Dallas Green thinks he should lay down another one here.
A good bunt. There's a throw to first in time. So Gooden sacrificed. Bushell threw him out. The Vizcaíno took the throw.
This is a fine bunt by Dwight Gooden. It gets by Castillo, but Bushell right there to make the play. And Gooden now with his 2nd sacrifice of the year. A couple of men move into scoring position. And if Castillo's going to have any chance in this one, he has got to retire Coleman and Fernandez.
So now the infield comes in for the play at the plate. 3-0 in favor of the Mets. There's the look at the infield. And remember, Doc Gooden is pitching against the Cubs tonight. Swings and he fouls it back.
The Mets are one of only 3 teams in the National League that have not been shut out. Despite their lowly batting average, they're last in the National League in hitting. Nobody has shut them out yet. Tonight will be no exception. Philadelphia and Houston, the other 2 teams that have not been shut out to date.
Infield in. Runners a big lead. Base hit. Right field. 1-run score. The ball is fumbled to the runner. Hundley fell down rounding third base. So only 1 run scored. So sad, trouble picking the ball up.
RBI number 15 for Vince Coleman as he gets a fastball, dumps it over the head of Vizcaíno. Unfortunately for the Cubs, when Sammy bobbles this one, Hundley is on the ground at third, and that's going to be it for Frank Castillo, who was rocked for 7 hits and 4 runs and only 1 out here in the second. A most disappointing night for him, and he will leave this ball game.
You know, this means in the last 4 innings, make it the last 5 innings that he has pitched against the Mets, he has allowed 13 hits, 14 runs, and leaves a man at third base, which is his responsibility. We'll have a new pitcher. We'll tell you more about him in a moment. Well, it's not likely that Frank Castillo will want to start against the Mets ever again. In 5 innings and 2 starts within a week, he's allowed 16 hits and 11 runs.
Larry, Frank came into this game 1-3 with an ERA of 5.35 against the Mets lifetime, so they've always given him a lot of problems. But tonight, They knocked him out very early. And there's the numbers on Dan Plesac. And this gives us an opportunity to tell you that, kids, you shouldn't miss your chance to learn baseball from Cubs players Derek May, Sammy Sosa, Chuck McElroy, and a host of other players and coaches at the 2nd Annual All-Star Kids Clinic. Tickets are just $10. So for more information, call 312-404-CUBS. So we take a look at Dan Plesac. He comes in, a .498 ERA in now his 16th appearance, 21 2/3 innings, giving up 5 home runs, 26 hits. He's walked 6 and fanned 17, which is a respectable total. And he's going to try to hold the Mets at bay. They've got a 4-run cushion behind their ace, Dwight Gooden.
The Cubs are the only team in the Eastern Division that the Mets have a winning record against. And they're going for 3 out of 4 tonight. They lead 4-0. Fernandez takes a little low. He's a switch hitter, one of the 9 they have. They usually use 7 of them to start a ball game with. Strike called. Dan Plesac.
Cubs were hoping to get back to the 500 mark with a victory tonight. It's early yet, but they've got a tough customer in Dwight Gooden. But they certainly have to hold down the Mets right here.
Two, 4, 5, 6 hits this inning. They had 1 in the first. The Mets have a lot of numbers on the board. High pop fly. Foul territory. Grace called for it. 2 gone. Plesac gets Fernandez. On the board for the Mets. 4 runs. 7 hits. 2 errors. Here's Eddie Murray turning around, hitting right-handed.
Eddie's a better hitter from the right side, hitting .297 as a right-hand hitter. Most of his runs batted in, however, have come from the left side, mainly because he hits about twice as much from that side. But he has just about equal power from both sides of the plate, and will most certainly wind up in Cooperstown when he takes the uniform off.
Runners first and third. Vince Coleman leading the league in stolen bases. Again to throw. Coleman has 25. Chuck Carr of Florida has 24. There he starts, changes his mind. 2 men around, 4 runs are in. Fouled him out of play. That's amazing. Castillo is only 24 years old. And going into this year, it seemed like he was ready to blossom out. He had his experience now, had the poise that takes in the big leagues, and he seemed ready, and he had a sensational spring training. And then the season starts, can't get anybody out.
Well, Harry, one of 2 things are happening here, and I don't know which one it is. One is he's lost all confidence in his stuff. Another is maybe he just has a tender shoulder, and I'm not sure which it is.
There goes the runner to throw. In the center field, a run score. And Coleman rounds third. He's going to starts to try to score, changes his mind.
It'll probably go to stolen base number 26. And an error on Rick Wilkins. That's his third. And so now Dwight Gooden has a 5-run lead as Wilkins bounces this one. No chance for Vizcaino. The run scores easily. And when things go badly for the Cubs, they go badly in all different departments. A squandered first inning where they had a shot at Dwight Gooden. They couldn't do anything with it. And now the Mets have taken advantage of every opportunity they've had in this one.
5-0 as Hundley scored on a double steal. Long, and he missed a high curveball. They say there's nothing wrong with his arm. I asked about that too, Steve, because remember that Sutcliffe never would admit he had a sore arm until it was all over, and he said the reason it took so long to pitch was because his arm bothered him. There's another hit. And Coleman crosses the plate. All these runs have been charged to Castillo.
Well, the Mets have visited the singles bar here in the second inning. 7 singles. They haven't done it with a long ball. They haven't had to. They just keep batting the ball around the old ball yard. The Cubs find themselves down by 6.
And here. There you see Doc Gooden, Dwight Gooden. And here's a man who started it all, hitting left-handed with a single to right off Castillo. Now he's hitting right-handed against Plesac. Curve into the dirt. Boy, oh boy.
They're at the point now, Harry, where I think that Jim Lefebvre and Larry Himes probably have come to the realization that they're going to have to do something with Frank. And although you hate to see a guy, especially a young guy, being sent down after he had so much success last year, it would seem to me that that would be the only logical solution until he gets his confidence back. Because there's no doubt that last year his stuff was good enough. That changeup was as good as there was in the league. But this year, his fastball has just been flat. It's been 83, 84 miles an hour. That's not good enough if you use as much as a plate as he's used. And I think it's a disappointment for everybody associated with the Cubs that Frank didn't have a better go of it early.
Don't you think the opposition knows that the only pitch he's got to get you out is a change, and therefore go up there and wait for it?
There's no doubt, but he wasn't getting it over, Harry, and they were hitting his fastball. When you don't get the change over, and the changeup's a great pitch when you're ahead in the count, but Frank didn't have a pitch where he could get ahead in the count, and he wasn't walking guys too much. What he was doing was falling behind a couple of balls and no strikes, and then having to lay a fastball in there, and the hitters just took full advantage of it.
Phenia gets a base on balls. He's on twice in the second inning. First with a hit, scoring a run. Now on a base on ball.
And the frustrating part about this for Jim Lefebvre, now he's on a road trip and he realizes that you can't burn out your bullpen early. And he was looking for at least 6 or 7 out of Frank tonight. But having to go to the bullpen in the second means he's going to use 4 or 5 pitchers today, and that burns out a bullpen quicker than anything.
Pitch fouled off. Ursulak, who singled his first time up. 6-0 in favor of the Mets. Boy, that.
Tommy McCraw talking over with Bobby Bonilla, who has a base hit and a base on balls here in the second. And there's Dallas Green, the unexpected recipient of this offensive onslaught.
Ground ball hit to Grace. He's got it. And that ends the inning. But 6 runs score for the Mets. They have 8 hits. All told, at the end of 2, they lead 6-0. Harry Caray back at Shea Stadium. The Aflac trivia question, which is tonight, which National League team won the most division titles in the 80s? Dodgers, Cubs, Astros, Phillies, or Cardinals? Cubs.
The Cubs with 2.
All right, we'll see how it is. Vizcaíno, base hit on the first pitch. Vizcaíno singles to center. You know, Frank Castillo now has pitched a total of 52 innings. In 52 innings, he has been touched for 65 hits.
Maybe Dwight Gooden will get overconfident and lay in a couple of those fastballs. Cubs don't have to get it all back at once.
Gray started a swing, tried to check, strike his call.
The Mets do not exactly have the best bullpen around. We told you about their 28 road games, the fact that they've had the lead in 24 of those. They've lost 19 of those games. Well, they've got the big lead here tonight.
There's a pitch fouled out of play, strike 2 the count. The Cubs, they just see John Franco. I think that's Eric Hillman with them.
That is king-size Eric Hillman, all 6'10", who was put into the bullpen, and Anthony Young, who the Cubs will face tomorrow, was promoted to the starting rotation.
The double play ball out at second for 1. Out at first for 2. Graves bounce into a double play. Eddie Murray to Tony Fernandez and back to Eddie Murray.
Normally, a first baseman would step on first this close to the bag, but Murray decides to go for the 3-6-3, and he gets it with Mark Grace grounding into the double play. And for him, that's his 9th of the year. As we take another look, so it looked like a promising inning. Now quickly has 2 outs as Eddie Murray playing a solid first base tonight.
Two out, nobody on. Derek May. Base hit. May singles to right.
And now that's a 10-game hitting streak. Harry, didn't the Cardinals win 3 division championships, or just 2 in the 80s?
I thought the Cubs had more than anybody else in the 80s.
I think they might have had as many. Maybe this is one of the Arnie Harris trick questions.
Or none of the above, none of the above. Well, we'll soon know before this inning is over. The answer to the Aflac trivia, not trick, trivia question. There's a curveball strike. Bouchel hit by a pitch ball. Well, this is the same team against Montreal, going with his best pitcher, Kenny Hill, who had been unbeaten all year. Looks so outstanding last night in Montreal, beating the Expos 4-1.
Well, the big difference was they got just an outstanding pitching performance from Hibbert. He was magnificent once again. In fact, his last 6 starts, he's been great.
Bouchel missed a pitch that bounced in front of the plate and is thrown out. So, no runs, 2 hits, 1 left. We go in the bottom of the 3rd, 6-0 Mets. Harry Caray with Steve Stone and Tom Brennaman at Shea Stadium, where the Mets are leading the Cubs 6-0. Here's Johnson, first pitch, low and outside. Johnson, let's see, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight hits until Gooden sacrificed. Then Coleman had another hit. And Murray had another hit. They had a total of 7 hits, 6 of them off of Castillo in the 2nd inning.
And that's the most hits that the Mets have had in 1 inning this year, topping the 6 they had in Wrigley Field in an inning that Frank Castillo started.
Here's a high pop foul back. Yeah, but the 6 hits at Wrigley Field, with the 6 hits at Wrigley Field, they scored 7 runs. So with these
the Cubs are well ahead of the game.
7 hits today, they only got 6 runs.
What a break.
2 balls and a strike. Base hit. And so Johnson. Here's the Aflac trivia question. And now we're going to see the answer. The Dodgers, 1, 2, 3, 4. The Cubs 2, the Cardinals 3. Well, our 2 doesn't sound so many.
Pales by comparison when you look at it. But when you consider, Harry, that those 2 seasons were the only 2 seasons that the Cubs have been over 500 in the last 22 years, you really have to enjoy those 2 seasons. And we both did.
We certainly did. 1 on. You know, I was talking about the law of averages. Thinking ahead to a possible victory over Doc Gooden, who's only 25-4 against the Cubs. And 14-1 here at Shea Stadium, 11-3 in Chicago. How about the law of averages? You'd think, gee whiz, since 1945, 49 years ago, you'd think law of averages would take care of you being in at least 1 World Series. But expansion teams have been there. Teams been moved around, have been there. And the Cubs still haven't been in the World Series since 1945.
And haven't won one since 1908.
What the heck, we're winning one. Just get in it.
So talk about the law of averages. Well, we just have to wait and see what happens here, Harry, and hopefully in both of our lifetimes, or perhaps in the lifetime of Arnie Harris, who's planning at least spending money like he's going to live to 130, maybe we'll see a World Series for the Cubs.
Yeah, but you guys, you talk about in your lifetime, it's a hell of a lot different than my lifetime.
You never know. You never know, Harry.
2 balls,
I figure Tom Brennaman and I will be 80 and 65 respectively. Still wondering if you're going to hang on another year.
I know you've been worrying about it very much. 2 balls, 2 strikes. The pitch. Swung, and he struck him out. Kent goes down swinging. And here's Hundley. I don't know, every time we see Hundley, you know, he's the son of Randy, who was a fine catcher for the Cubs during those great years in the 60s. And every time we see him, he hits a home run, gets a couple of hits. And then I look at the averages, and next time, he's hitting 220, 221.
That's because the Cubs are the only team he's really hitting against. And I talked with Tom McCraw, the hitting instructor, about Todd Hundley. And I said to him, what do you think so far about this young man? He says, well, sometimes when he hits a home run, he begins to believe that he's going to hit 30 or 35 home runs and really tries pulling everything more than he normally does. Todd Hundley is going to be a pretty decent hitter when he learns to hit the ball the other way. If he can consistently hit the ball the other way when the pitchers stay away from him, Todd Hundley will be a good hitter. But he's strong enough to hit a lot of home runs.
Hundley singled in the big second inning. Everybody seemed to single. Some of the hits were all single.
What the Mets like about Todd Hundley is the fact that through all of his offensive difficulties, he has remained an excellent defensive catcher. And And those were the skills that brought him to the major leagues. The fact that he could throw and catch and handle major league pitchers well before he learned how to hit the ball.
There's a high fly ball. Left center field should be caught. Dwight Smith is there. 2 gone. Hundley flies to Smith. Well, time will be along at the end of this half inning. I'll go over next door here and see what the great old third baseman of the Cubs, Ron Santo, thinks about the way things are going. 2 men out, runner on at first base, and the pitch a little bit inside. And nobody hurts more when the Cubs lose than Ron. 1 ball, no strikes, 2 out. High pop foul back out of play. Boy, this Gooden, you know. He sacrificed the first time up, a perfect sacrifice, moving the runners to second and third. Both later scored. He's hitting .286 for the year, .202 for his career. He's had 1 home run this year. He's had 6 home runs during his career. Pitch a little bit low.
Gooden really has everything as far as a major league pitcher. He's got the great size, obviously as good an arm as anybody in baseball, including Roger Clemens. But as a National League pitcher, he can hit and he can field his position. And he helps himself in many a game.
There's a strike call. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
In fact, if you looked at his numbers compared with Clemens before the Gooden arm problems, they were almost identical. So this is one of the best at 28 years old that has come into this game in a long time.
A little wide, ball 3. 3 balls, 2 strikes. And he'll be around for a long time to come. And I imagine he's one of the only untradables that they have on this team. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
I would say you're looking at the only, not one of them, the only untradeable.
There goes the runner. Base hit, right field. Here comes the throw by Sosa's into second base. Gooden lines a single to right.
Dwight is now hitting .306 as he goes the other way. Plesac throws a fastball down the middle, as you would expect on 3-2. And with a runner going, Dwight Gooden delivers the base hit. So yet another single. All 10 Met hits have been singles tonight, but they have all done the job.
The other night, the Cubs hit 3 home runs, 2 of them by pinch hitters in 1 game, and out-hit the other team. Montreal doubled the score on them. So singles can do the trick too.
And the Cubs need a few more innings out of Dan Plesac. Jim Lefevre does not want to deplete the bullpen the first game of this series, knowing that he's got to face the potent Giants over the weekend.
Vince Coleman, bouncing ball. Sanchez over to second to retire the side with no runs, 2 hits, 2 left. Harry Caray from Shea Stadium at the end of 3. The Mets are leading 6-0.
Hi again, everybody. Back with our producer, director Arnie Harrison, Steve Stone, Tom Brennaman at Shea Stadium in New York. It has not been a pretty sight. Frank Castillo chased after an inning and a third, having allowed 7 hits and 6 runs, and his problems continue.
Unfortunately, Tom, you have to feel sorry for the guy because he got hit harder tonight than George Foreman is going to get hit later by Tommy Morrison.
A prediction.
Well, I think that George, even if he wins, is going to take some punches from a guy 20 years younger. But it's not the boxing we have to talk about. It's getting some runs against Dwight Gooden, and that's going to be a very tough task.
Gooden 6-4 on the year, ranks among the league leaders in ERA, innings pitched. He'll face Rick Wilkins, Sammy Sosa, Ray Sanchez here in the Cub 4th inning. New York all 6 runs on 7 hits in the 2nd inning, and all the runs charged to Castillo. Lined into deep right. This might be the first run, and it is. Boy, Wilkins has found the home run swing through the month of May and here into early June. That is his 8th of the year, and it's 6-1 New York.
Wilkins is hitting in the number 6 spot tonight because Ryne Sandberg is out of the lineup. And a suggestion that I would have for Jim Lefevre, Tommy, is against right-hand pitching, hit Wilkins up in the batting order in an RBI spot. Because here's a man that's hit 8 home runs, yet he only has 12 runs driven in. If you put him in an RBI spot, I think he's going to be a potent bat in the middle of that lineup. And Gooden lays in a fastball. Montgomery Ward donates $100 to Cubs Care, and Rick Wilkins takes it way back in right field, and the Cubs on the board.
Sammy Sosa now the hitter. Gooden struck him out swinging, leading off the 2nd inning. Well, look who's here tonight. Our good friend Bill Murray
With his Inspector Clouseau hat.
He's incognito tonight.
No, he's in the seats.
Well, generally every time we come to New York, Bill finds a little bit of time to come out and catch his favorite ball club, the Chicago Cubs. And, well, you can tell by looking at his face that his team is not faring well tonight. Sosa trying to pull. The Gooden breaking ball does to Fernandez, and he's an easy out.
Tony Fernandez is feeling much better these days. He had about a month-long battle with kidney stones, and he was down to 195 batting average when we saw him in Wrigley Field. But he said before the game today that he feels 100% right now, and he charged that ball aggressively and got the ball over in time to get Sosa.
Philadelphia batting in the bottom of the 5th inning against Houston. It's a scoreless game at Veterans Stadium. Reds in front of Montreal to Big O, 3-2. Reds batting in the 5th. Swing and a miss, strike 1 to Sanchez, who singled, was forced at second his first time up. An abbreviated schedule in the National League tonight. Later it'll be Atlanta at San Diego, Florida in Los Angeles. Dodgers taking 2 of 3 over the weekend against Atlanta. They beat Greg Maddux on Saturday.
How'd you enjoy your late night flight from Montreal to New York? I understand you guys were in a little bit later than you expected.
Got to bed about 4. Rounder up the middle. Kent knocks it down, but it's into center field. And Sanchez is coming for second. Here's the throw. He made it. Good heads-up hustle by Ray Sanchez.
And Jeff Kent, instead of going to get the ball, started to look at Sanchez as if he was daring him to go. So Sanchez says, well, if you're daring me, I will take the extra base. And Sanchez now 2 for 2 as he goes up the middle. Kent having all kinds of problems doing anything at second base, but you see him take a look back. He keeps on looking at Sanchez while he slides into second base. And that's one of the things they're going to have to address here in New York, Tom, that second base position, which has given them all kinds of problems.
Well, Doug Jennings going to come up and bat for left-hander Dan Plesac. And Gooden waiting on Jennings to come up to the plate. Plesac did not allow a run in an inning and 2/3. Surrendered 3 hits with a walk and a strikeout. And that is now 6 consecutive outings for Dan Plesac in which he is not allowed a run, spanning 8 innings, 8 1/3 to be exact. And it might not sound like much, but for a guy who was getting knocked all over the place early in the season, he's starting to gain his confidence back a bit.
Doug Jennings probably wondering where the easy right-handers are coming from. All he sees is John Wetland and Dwight Gooden.
Yeah.
He didn't fare very well against John Wetland in Montreal, and now he gets an opportunity to look at one of the league's best. But if you're going to swing the bat from the left side off the bench, you're going to have to face these kind of guys all the time. And that's what they ask of Doug Jennings, and that is a very difficult role to fill.
Want to note that Jennings, as you saw, having a good year down at AAA Iowa, spent part of the 88, 89, 90, and 91 years with the Oakland Athletics. where he earned 2 American League Championship rings and a World Series ring, of course, in the A's victory over their Bay Area rival Giants. But he wears the American League Championship ring of 1990 and not the World Series ring. You're wondering why, because in 1990 he got a chance to bat in that World Series, and he was one of about 3 Oakland A's that managed to hit off Jose Rijo. While we have a chance, let's step aside for a station ID on the Cubs television network.
This is WGN-TV Chicago, America's #1 sports station.
Tom Brennaman back with Steve Stone at Shea Stadium in New York. 6-0 Mets lead. Well, a reminder, the 9 o'clock news, of course, is following tonight's ball game, so stay with us here on Channel 9. 2-2 to Doug Jennings. Well, I remember a time in the mid-'80s, and Stoney, obviously you were coming in here broadcasting Cubs baseball in the late 1980s as well. You'd come to Shea Stadium on a night when Dwight Gooden was pitching, and you would not be able to find an empty seat. 3-2. Back in the days of Darryl Strawberry as well. Good teams, electric atmosphere here at Shea, but the last 2-3 seasons that has not been the case.
This is a great town when you win, Tommy, and the worst town around when you're losing. And the Mets, deep in last place, are finding that out once again, as if they have to be reminded of that.
Jennings strikes out on a Gooden heat. The doctor's 4th K of the night. 2 down in the inning.
You know, I had a chance to come in here, Tom, a little early because we didn't do the game last night. And I bought all the newspapers and read 50 different pages devoted to why the Knicks lost to the Bulls. From every angle conceivable. They could have summed it up in one sentence. They weren't good enough. And I think Pat Riley almost said as much when he said we just didn't get it done. And it's not a young team that they assembled in New York.
And now the man they want is Mark Price.
I don't blame him. I'd want him too. He's a pretty good one.
Play for my team any day. Lined right at Kent. Boy, he almost got hit right in the chest with that ball. And Smitty walks away a hard out. 1 run, 2 hits, 1 left. Middle of the 4th, 6-1. Mets in front.
If the nightingales could sing like you, they'd sing much sweeter than they do. For you brought a new kind of love to me. And if the Sandman brought me dreams of you, I'd want to sleep my whole life through. You brought new love to me.
Welcome back to Cubs baseball. We head for the bottom half of the 4th inning. Already the 3rd pitcher employed by manager Jim Lefevre under the watchful eyes of one Bill Murray. And say hello to Jose Batista.
Batista 1-1. ERA 3.38, on for the 17th time. 21 in the 3rd innings, giving up 3 home runs and 19 hits. He's walked 8. He's fanned 14, and his job is easily laid out for him. Don't give up any more runs because the man on the mound is mighty tough. So he's got to hold him right there, and he's got to do it against a lineup that's bent on singling the Cubs to death tonight.
10 singles by the New York Met batters tonight, and that's through 3 innings. They had 7 singles in the 6-run 2nd. A single by Fernandez in the 1st, who will begin things here in the 4th, and a pair of singles off Plesac in the 3rd. Tony Fernandez, lifetime .285 hitter, had some marvelous years in Toronto and a couple of decent years after that blockbuster trade involving Fernandez, Freddie McGriff leaving Toronto, going to San Diego in exchange for Roberto Alomar and Joe Carter.
Really, when you think about it, Tom, was an unbelievable trade. It was just strictly a baseball deal, not made for free agency, not made for arbitration players, made for talent against talent.
Into short left, May and Sanchez there, and Ray will take it for the 1st out.
And I guess you would have to say at this point, for Joe McIlvaine, the trade doesn't look quite as good as it does for Pat Gillick, who still has Roberto Alomar and Joe Carter, and both of them still mighty fine baseball players. And now McIlvaine, I think for economic reasons, is being said that he is shopping around Freddie McGriff at first base, and he will find some takers for Freddie McGriff.
And most important of all, Roberto Alomar and Joe Carter, when they finish with a ball game every night and walk into the valuables box in the clubhouse, they slide on the World Series championship rings.
Well, you never know how a trade's going to work out when you make it. I'm sure on the mind of Joe McIlvaine when he made that trade was that his team would be better off getting who they got from Toronto.
Yeah.
Pat Gillick felt the same way, and it just didn't work out that way for McIlvaine. McIlvaine was here in New York as apparently the man who was going to take over for Frank Castillo when he retired. He took a lot of heat here in New York for the deal that sent Lenny Dykstra to Philadelphia along with Roger McDowell.
Hit hard into left field. Derek May, shy of the track, will haul in the Eddie Murray fly ball. 2 up, 2 down against Batista in the New York fourth, with the Mets leading 6-1.
Well, Joe McIlvaine decided to go west, young man, and he got a 5-year deal with San Diego. That left Al Harrison, a man who would come up through the Baltimore system, but essentially a man who was on the business side of things, not the baseball side, to take over the New York Mets. And he knew exactly what he was taking over. A team that had to win to draw fans, and it hasn't worked out that way, and Al Harrison now is starting to feel the heat in New York.
And he's taken a lot of the heat surrounding the man who settles in. Bobby Bonilla came over, much to the joy of this entire city. Native New Yorker, look forward to playing here, and has had a tough time. Sends this one to right, room for Sosa. And Batista records the first perfect inning tonight against the Mets. We played 4, New York 6, the Cubs 1. Back at Shea Stadium in New York, it is a 6-1 Mets lead as the Cubs come up against Doc Gooden, a 25-4 career record against the Cubs. And he has a 5-run lead. Vizcaíno is singled and struck out in 2 trips. Doc Gooden truly has been the Roger Clemens of his generation amongst National League pitchers. Has the best winning percentage in the history of the National League. Going for his 149th win tonight against only 70 losses. It is very conceivable, as Vizcaíno lifts one to Coleman and left, that should Gooden stay healthy, and he continues to get stronger and stronger with a velocity in the breaking ball after surgery, that he could be a 200-game winner and not even have 100 losses. He'd have to go 51-22 should he win tonight to accomplish that unheard of feat.
He certainly has the ability to do just that. The only question mark, Tommy, and you said it at the beginning, should he stay healthy? And that's really the only thing that can stop Dwight Gooden. The most amazing part of this year is he's playing for a team 17 games under 500, and he's 2 games over.
Lifted in the air, deep right field. Bobby Bonilla going back at the wall, looks up, goodbye. Race has clubbed his 5th home run of the season. And it's a 6-2 New York lead.
It's RBI number 40 for Mark Grace. He got a changeup. Dwight Gooden very rarely throws any changeups, and I think he telegraphed this one. Dwight threw it out over the plate, and Mark Grace is not fooled by the changeup whatsoever. Montgomery Ward donating $100 to Cubs Care as Bonilla looks up and waves bye-bye. And a very happy dugout as the Cubs pull within 4 on a couple of long balls.
First pitch swinging Derek May, an easy out. Playable for Howard Johnson, 2 down.
Wednesday evening, the Cubs continue their series at New York in a game that will not be seen on WGN due to the Major League Baseball's blackout rule. But in the Chicago area, you can still catch the game on cable, only on Chicagoland TV. If your cable system doesn't offer Chicagoland TV yet, call them and ask for it to be added. It doesn't cost you extra since it's a basic cable service. That's the Cubs at New York Wednesday evening at 6:30 on Chicagoland TV.
Lined into right field. Bonilla there, and Buechele a hard out. 1 run, 1 hit. Grace plays long ball, middle of the 5th in Shea. 6-2, Mets lead it. Well, we're back at Shea Stadium in New York, where it's a 6-2 Mets lead. Jose Bautista, the 3rd pitcher tonight. Castillo did not survive the 2nd. He hung around an inning and a 3rd, allowed 7 hits, 6 runs, all earned, didn't walk anybody while striking out 1 as Orsulak fouls it back to begin the New York 5th. Plesac an inning and 2/3, 3 hits, no runs.
You know, Jose Bautista was the last man to make the ball club in spring training, and more times than not this year he's been either the 12th man on the 12-man staff or now 11th on the 11-man staff. But yet quietly he's become pretty dependable out of the bullpen, Tom, and he's the kind of pitcher that every team has got to have. I think that Jose's done a fine job this year doing what Jim Lefebvre's asked of him.
I agree with you. Smitty a late break, but comes in to make the grab, and Bautista's retired all 4 batters he's faced.
You know, there's many instances where you need a guy to throw a couple innings in the middle, or in a situation like this, you need him to come in out of the bullpen and hold the opposition. Maybe you can claw your way back into the game. And more times than not this year, Jose has been able to do just that. So a guy that wasn't highly thought of in the spring has turned in a pretty good job this year for the Cubs.
Bautista's always had a very live arm going back to his days as a Baltimore Oriole. But he struggled with his control quite a bit, or he'd make a bad pitch in a key situation. But, you know, this year, by and large, his control hasn't been bad at all.
Well, I think that as far as getting the ball over the plate, he's done it as well as anybody. And you all know the pitching woes that the Cubs have been struggling through on this road trip.
This is only the 5th game of a 10-game swing. Strike 1 to Johnson, 2 for 2, an RBI and a run scored. Cubs dropped first 3 games in Montreal, picking up a win last night over the Montreal ace, Kenny Hill, which really is in a nutshell, is a Cubs season. The teams and or pitchers you figure they're going to beat, they don't. And the teams you figure and pitchers you figure they won't defeat, more times than not, so far this year, they have. Out of play. Johnson will come back to the plate.
Well, we've talked about this season in evaluating the ball club, Tom, and if you're having a year like Colorado or a team like the Rockies, you can't get too aggravated with them because, quite frankly, they don't have the talent. You know you're in for a losing year when you open up the season. But with the Cubs, it's the most frustrating of all years because it's always right around 500. And you think you should be better than you are, but the league tells you that you're a middle-of-the-road team. And everybody just seems to be waiting for that hot streak to come along. And in the meantime, if you don't make it happen, it's not going to knock on your door and say, I'm here, win 10 in a row. So the Cubs have got to start executing. They certainly have to get better starting pitching, and I think that's one of the keys. You saw yesterday in the Hibbert game where great starting pitching makes a team look 50% better than they'd normally look. It's real hard for the team to look good when the starting pitcher gets knocked around like Frank did today. When Greg had the big game yesterday, the team just is picked up behind him. You get a couple of runs, they really mean something. Now you've hit 2 home runs off Dwight Gooden. Normally, that would be cause for celebration, but you find yourself 4 runs back, and it's not quite as important.
1 down, nobody on. A count of 1 and 2 on Howard Johnson, and he waits too long on Bautista. Reds are leading Montreal 8-2 at the Big O. A game in the 6th inning. Philadelphia and Houston tied at 1 with the Phillies batting in the bottom of the 6th against Greg Swindell. He's being opposed by Danny Jackson. Johnson just fouling them away.
Tom McCraw, the hitting instructor, was trying to impress on Howard Johnson that you can't go automatically back to the 30 years. You're not going to hit 30 home runs unless you start hitting the ball hard. And you're not going to start hitting the ball hard consistently unless you stop trying to hit every ball out of the park. He wants him to just make some contact from both sides of the plate, and eventually he's strong enough so that the home runs will come. But he's really struggled from the right side, having a pretty decent year as a left-hand hitter.
On the ground to Grace, he'll underhand to Batista, and Jose has retired all 5 New York batters he faced. Well, later tonight on WGN, a group of warriors band together in order to save their town from the forces of evil. Lou Ferrigno and Brad Harris star in the 7 Magnificent Gladiators. Tonight at 11:30 on WGN Channel 9.
I think Lou Ferrigno got an Academy Award for that, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe not.
He was the Incredible Hulk, you know. I think the Academy Award was for the best performance by a green guy in any movie that particular year.
And that was a tough year in that department.
The competition. Well, you had the great slime monster that was also in the running.
Ninja Turtle.
And the Ninja Turtles, of course. Always a consideration.
That is a fair ball. And Wilkins easily throws out Kent. Batista back-to-back perfect innings. We head for the 6th. 6-2 New York. Love is in the air on this beautiful summer-like night here in New York. Boy, it was a gorgeous day here today. Temperatures over 80, not a cloud in the sky, and game time temperature tonight, 75 degrees.
Certainly is a beautiful night here, but Tom, I don't think that's love. I think that's soot. You get that confused in New York quite often.
You better be very careful. Tomorrow night, Mike Morgan against Anthony Young. Young trying to end that personal 19 consecutive losses streak. In the air by Rick Wilkins. Bobby Bonilla has it for out number 1.
Well, Tom, I've got our Any Questions question tonight for you, and it's from 14-year-old Katie Ness. She's from Grinnell, Iowa. She says, my brother Ryan and I have been pondering something since the beginning of the season. What exactly would you call Sammy Sosa's hairstyle? Now, you can't see it under the helmet, but we've had many shots of Sammy's hairstyle this year, and Katie's just wondering what you would call it.
What I would call it?
What you would call it.
I'd call it a good thing he didn't have it when he met the former Sonia Esther. That is his wife. Because if he did, I don't think she'd have been much interested.
I don't know. Sammy's kind of an engaging young man.
I'm not debating that, but that do ain't good.
Do you think that hairstyle isn't quite what his bride would be looking for, huh?
Well, one of these days when you have a lovely young offspring and she brings a young man home to meet Dad, how would you feel about wedding pictures sporting that do? You pretty comfortable with that?
Well, as a Major League Baseball player, I don't think it would be the worst thing around.
Well, yeah, they're a lot worse.
And what I would call it, Tom, would be a trip to a barber college that didn't work out particularly well.
It was uncertified. That'd be a good look for Arnie. A lot of facial hair. Let me see that guy again, Arnie. Don't you think that'd be a good look? A little gray and brown, red mixed in there.
Ooh. I don't know about that for Arnie.
Arlene, his wife, would be crazy about it. Sosa out of there on strikes for the second time tonight. He's 0 for 3 against Doc Gooden.
Well, we'd like to thank Katie Ness from Grinnell, Iowa for that inquiry. And if you want to write in anything about Sammy's hair or anything else, write any questions for kids' sake. WGN-TV, 2501 West Bradley Place, Chicago, Illinois, 60618. We will do our best to answer it. And there is the hairstyle. Even though some of the questions are just absolutely unanswerable.
Now, wait a minute here. We got to get a better look than this because, see, you can't tell the angle to that haircut. We'll get back to it a little bit later on as Fernandez throws out Sanchez. Good and a perfect. See, that's a better look. We go to the bottom of the sixth, 6-2, New York. Along with Steve Stone, I'm Tom Brennaman. New York Shea Stadium, where the Mets are in front of the Cubs in the opener of this 3-game series, 6-2. Morgan against Anthony Young tomorrow night. And then on Wednesday, as we told you earlier, we'll be blacked out on Channel 9, but we will have it on CLTV. Jose Guzman against Frank Tanana. And there's a shot fouled down the right field line by Todd Hundley. The Mets have 6 runs on 10 singles tonight. Both games will get underway in the next 2 nights at 6:30 Central Time.
This is going to be the last inning for Jose Bautista, and he would certainly like to finish it off exactly where he found it, only with the Cubs having 1 more run. So he came in a 5-run deficit. It's a 4-run deficit, and Jose would like to work his 3rd perfect inning. He's been pretty impressive tonight.
Hundley, Gooden, and Coleman here in the New York 6th. Hundley, an RBI single, scored in the 6-run second inning. He's also fly to center. 0-2. Well, after Houston got a run in the top of the 6th inning at Veterans Stadium, the Phillies battle back with that plus 2 more. They're in the 7th. Philadelphia 3, Houston 1. The Phillies trying to go 23 games over 500.
Unfortunately, if the Cubs do come out on the short end of this and Philly maintains that lead, the Cubs will be 12.5 games back.
Charging Vizcaíno, and he'll throw out Hundley in a close play.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Chicago National League Ball Club, which has a right of approval of the announcers and is intended solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Chicago National League Ball Club is prohibited.
Warm round of applause for the man they call the Doctor here in New York. Dwight Gooden, a sacrifice bunt, which led to a pair of runs, and then he had a single in the 3rd inning. And he smokes his ball, but Dwight Smith is there for out number 2. There's nothing this guy can't do. He can field, pitch, run, hit.
He's a great athlete, and it shows on the mound. And in the National League, Tom, you have got to be a great athlete if you're going to win a lot of games, because if you can field and help yourself with an occasional base hit, you will win some of those close games, and they won't take you out for a pinch hitter late in the game.
Bautista going for his 3rd consecutive perfect inning. Only Vince Coleman stands in the way, and he deals him a strike. Coleman has struck out, singled, stolen a base, scored, knocked in a run, and bounced into a fielder's choice, ending the New York 3rd. Hit hard, but Sanchez will play it nicely and throw him out. Bautista 9 up, 9 down. He's done a good job tonight. But as Harry comes back in the 7th, it's a 6-2 New York lead.
Hello again, everybody. Harry Caray with Steve Stone and Tom Brennaman as we go into the top of the 7th. 6-2 in favor of the New York Mets. The Phillies have taken a 3-1 lead behind Danny Jackson against Houston. We have Joe Orsulek shifting from center to left. And Dave Gallagher now playing center for the Mets.
And Willie Wilson is coming on to pinch hit for Jose Bautista, who did an outstanding job. 3 perfect innings, 9 up, 9 down, and he kept the Cubs in the ball game.
Willie Wilson swings, fouls off the first pitch. Detroit and Chicago still tied 2-2 in the 5th. Texas leading Minnesota 3-1 in the 4th. Milwaukee over Seattle 4-0 in the 5th.
Willie Wilson 7 for 21 as a pinch hitter this year. He's driven in 3 runs in that role.
There's a pitch fouled into the stand. Toronto leading California 3-2 in the bottom of the 7th at Toronto. Baltimore over Oakland 2-0 in the 7th. Boston and Cleveland postponed. Bouncing ball. Could be a close play. He's safe. Murray could not come up with the ball.
I'd like to see Willie get a base hit on that one because it's a tough play for Eddie Murray. We'll have to see what the official scorer has to say about that. As Wilson streaking down the line, he's very fast, as you know. It would have been a bang-bang play at first, even if Murray came up with it cleanly. And we'll have to see. And I think they're giving him a base hit.
Watch it again. He can fly down the line. His speed defies his age of 37.
And they are going to give him a base hit, his 8th as a pinch hitter this year. So the Cubs still within striking distance.
And now here's Dwight Smith. The Cubs' runs were home runs by Mark Grace and Rick Wilkins. The 6th and 7th home runs hit off Gooden this year. There's a fastball high.
Bear in mind something, that the leading save man on this Met team is John Franco, and he has a grand total of 2 saves. So they haven't got many games to him, and he hasn't had a lot of pressure situations this year.
Ball high and outside. Ball 3. Nobody out. Wilson, a very fast runner at first. We're in the top of the 7th. He walked him, and the Cubs have runners at first and second with nobody out. In the first, the Cubs had the bases loaded with 2 out as a result of 2 consecutive errors by their second baseman, Jeff Kent.
There's John Franco, but he's not going to have any 3-inning saves, so they're going to have somebody to bridge the gap between Gooden and Franco. Franco coming back from arm surgery. His arm is not near as strong as it will be later in the year, and Mel Stottlemyre comes out to have a word with Doc Gooden. Now, the Cubs have got a chance if they can score a couple of runs here. And what a win this would be for the ball club. First of a 3-game series against the Mets in New York. And it would mean 2 wins in a row for the Cubs.
So runners are on at first and second. Nobody out. And Vizcaino, who's 1 out of 3, hit the ball hard twice as John Franco starting to warm up. Strike is in there over the outside corner. 0-1 to count. Vizcaino, the outfield plays him not too deep. They bunch him towards center, giving him both lines. High foul ball out of play down the left field line into the stand.
Dallas Green has gone to his defensive outfield, having both Orsulak and Gallagher in the game at one time. That's the center field platoon system. If the game is close and if the Mets have the lead, Dallas has been taking out Vince Coleman late in the game, and he's done it again here tonight.
Now ready. Swings and he fouls it off. 0-2 the count. Runners at first and second. Chuck McElroy getting ready for the Cubs. Jose Batista, an outstanding job. 3 perfect innings in relief. Double play ball. Out at second to 1. Out at first for 2. So Vizcaino wrapped into a double play. 4-6-3.
That's the second double play of the night, and this one particularly damaging for the Cubs. Kent handles it well, and a good relay by Fernandez, despite the fact that he was almost taken out on the play by Dwight Smith, who did everything he could to break it up, but couldn't get a piece of Tony on the relay.
Now here's Mark Grace, who drove in his 40th run of the year with his home run in the 5th. Ground ball. Kent to his right. Throws to retire the side. Boy, that That sure ended in a hurry. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 1 left. We go in the bottom of the 7th. 6-2 Mets.
Hey kids, join Cubs manager Jim Lefevre, Derek May, Sammy Sosa, and a host of Cubs players and coaches for the 2nd annual All-Star Kids Clinic, sponsored by Dial Soap and WGN-TV. Don't miss your chance to go on the field at Wrigley and learn hitting, pitching, and fielding from the pros. There will be special appearance by Bozo the Clown, and everyone attending receives a Cubs sports bag filled with prizes. Tickets are just $10 per person. For more information, call 312-404-CUBS.
McElroy. Harry Caray and Steve Stone back at Shea Stadium as we go into the bottom of the 7th. And Chuck McElroy, the new pitcher for the Cubs.
McElroy at 2-1, but he has been hit hard of late. His ERA swelling to 4.79 on for the 20th time. And he wants to follow up the Batista outing with a good one of his own.
Batista retired 9 men in a row. Masterful job of relief. But his team is trailing 6-2. Gotta make some runs to have a chance.
Against the Mets, as you've seen, Chuck McElroy has thrown the ball very well. 2.77 lifetime ERA.
Ball too low. 1 ball, 1 strike. The White Sox lead Detroit 3-2 in the bottom of the 5th. The Phillies lead Houston 3-1 in the bottom of the 7th at Philadelphia. Cincinnati walloping Montreal 8-2 in the 7th. High pop fly. Mark Grace back, makes the catch. Fernandez pops to Grace. Here's Eddie Murray, 1 out of 3.
The Mets have been silent since that 2nd inning. They've only had 2 singles since the 2nd. That's how good the relief pitching has been between Plesac, Batista, and now McElroy. And there you see the big 6 in the 2nd. And goose eggs after that.
Bouncing ball. Long throw might get him. Nope. He didn't have the arm. That's an infield hit for Murray, who now has 2,702 hits for his major league career.
High chopper to short. And this one just too deep for Ray Sanchez to get much on it. He tries to bounce it across, but this is not the artificial surface. That kind of throw doesn't help you much on the natural grass. And Murray has his 2nd hit of the day.
Here's Bobby Bonilla, who started a 6-run rally with a base hit. Lines another one in the short right. Here's Murray on his way to 3rd base. A good throw might get him. They cut it off. So runners at 1st and 3rd. The ball was not hit too well, but was hit safely.
Bobby Bonilla now with his 2nd hit. All 12 Met hits tonight, singles. Got to be heads up in the case of Joe Orsulak, because he has been known to bunt in a situation like this, and if he gets it up the right side, it's going to produce a run.
Orsulak the hitter. Runners at 1st and 3rd, the infield. Halfway around short and 2nd. Orsulak very fast. He's 1 out of 3 tonight. There's a line drive, will score the run. There's a catch. Here's a throw to the plate. Way up the line, and it's a 7-2 lead. Orsulak gets a sacrifice fly, driving in the 7th run of the night for the Mets.
RBI number 12, and Sammy Sosa throws the ball up the line, and Eddie Murray scores easily. The first sacrifice fly of the year for Joe Orsulak, and the Mets now lead by 5.
There's Hojo, who's 2 out of 3. 7-2 in favor of the Mets. Pop foul coming back out of play. Now the Mets have not beaten any team in the Eastern Division more times than they have lost to them. They've won 2 out of 3 though from the Cubs, and shooting for 3 out of 4 tonight. Pitch a little bit outside. The only team that the Mets, other than the Cubs, have beaten over the season's play is Colorado, the expansion club, which they have beaten 4 out of 5. High foul ball out of play. Howard Johnson, veteran third baseman. I wouldn't mind seeing this guy in Chicago. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. High fly ball. Dwight Smith coming in to retire the side. 1 run, 2 hits, and 1 left. At the end of 7, the Mets lead 7-2. Harry Caray back at Shea Stadium. Here's the first pitch. Derek May lifts a high fly ball. It's caught out in left field, 1 away. Tim Bogar's come in to play third for the Mets. Orsulak took care of Derek May's fly ball, 1 out.
One of the big problems for the Cubs this year, as you know, is beating the teams that they're supposed to beat. And that's the teams really in the last 2 spots in each division. I'm talking about Florida, New York, San Diego, and Colorado. Against those 4 teams, if the Cubs do lose tonight, they'll be just 5-9, or 4 games under 500 against teams that they should be beating. If they lose tonight, they'll only be 2 games under 500 as a team, meaning they're playing pretty well against the better teams in the league and just terrible against the bad teams.
Phillies, who play great against good and bad alike, are leading Houston 5-1 in the bottom of the 7th. Bouchel, 1 ball, 1 strike. 7-2. The Cubs with 7 hits. The Mets with 12. The Cubs have 2 homers. The Mets none. All the Mets hits have been singles. In case Doc Gooden needs a fresh shirt, they have it hanging in the dugout. Now that's what you call service. There's strike 3 call.
Strikeout number 6 for Doc. He got his nickname because they used to call him Dr. K. That was in the years when he used to strike out around 270 or 80 men a year. Those days are gone for him. He doesn't have that kind of explosive fastball or curve anymore, but he throws well enough to just beat you. doesn't have to worry about the strikeouts. He doesn't mind if you pop the first pitch up these days.
Just to give you an idea, his team is 17 games under 500. If they win tonight, it'll be their 19th victory, of which Doc Gooden will have 7 out of the 19. That tells you something about his talent. When he can win with a losing club and a bad losing club. There's a belt deflected, and Kent throws out Wilkins. The Doc got his glove up in time, deflected it to Kent, who threw out Wilkins. 1, 2, 3. We go in the bottom of the 8th, 7-2 Mets. Harry Caray, bottom of the 8th. Jeff Kent will lead it off. He's 1 out of 3. They haven't announced the attendance yet. Not much of a crowd. And the pitch a little bit high. I guess Dallas Green wouldn't mind playing the Cubs every game. He won 2 out of 3 from the Cubs in Chicago, and he's beating them again here tonight, 7-2.
Well, I think if he could put Dwight Gooden on the mound every night, Harry, he'd probably take his chances against anybody, because it's a different team when Doc goes to the mound. His team knows that he's going to throw a pretty good ball game. The ace of the staff gives the team a lift.
There's a strike call. 2 balls and the strike. Kent has had a tough time in the field around second base. 2 successive errors in the first inning as the Cubs fill the bases, but with 2 out. And didn't take advantage. There's a foul ball back. Mike Morgan tomorrow night. 6:30 Chicago time. Tomorrow night's telecast on Channel 9.
The Cubs will try to extend the losing streak of Anthony Young to 20 games tomorrow night.
There's a high pop fly. Vizcaíno calls for it. 1 away. Huntley is 1 out of 3. He too got a hit in that big second inning. 1 ball, no strikes. Phillies on their way to another victory, leading 5-1 over Houston. 7-1 now over Houston. A little bit low. If the Phillies win that game, they'll be 23 games above 500. 3 balls, no strikes, 1 out. Boy, how times have changed in Philadelphia this year from last year. Three balls and a strike. He walked him. Huntley gets a baseball ball. Let's pause for identification.
This is WGN-TV Chicago, America's #1 sports station.
Doc Gooden giving a great hand. Remember, the 9 o'clock news follows the ball game immediately. Gooden has had 1 out of 2, had a sacrifice bunt, a single. There he bunts again, another sacrifice, and there's 2 away. And here comes Tim Bogert. I mean Dave Gallagher, who replaced Coleman in the outfield. Gallagher. Boger came in to replace Hojo Johnson. 2 out. McElroy was scored upon in the 7th on 2 hits and a sacrifice fly. Hundley in scoring position. Gallagher used to be with the White Sox, among other clubs.
Since Gallagher and Orsulak started platooning in center field after they sent down Ryan Thompson, they're hitting .301 as a platoon system. That's a lot of production in center.
Good fastball over the outside corner. White Sox have lengthened their lead over Detroit to 6-2. Bouncing ball. Bouchel's throw to retire the side. At the end of 8, the Mets 7, the Cubs 2. Harry Caray and Steve Stone as we go into the 9th. Gooden going for his 4th complete game. Sammy Sosa has a cut.
Sammy has swung at the high, Gooden fastball all night and is still trying to catch up with it. You don't lay off it, you got no chance.
He's fanned 6 men. The highest number of strikeouts Gooden has had in a major league game has been 16, and he did that 3 different times. The last time he fanned 16 was back in '85. Sosa, 0-2. Fastball high. Boy, he's been throwing him nothing but fastball.
And that was one of the fastest he's thrown all night. So that was a rocket. And on this trip, as you can see, Cubs have left 38 men. Tonight they had their chances against Doc Gooden. They couldn't convert.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Cincinnati walloping Montreal 11-3. Struck him out. Strikeout number 7. And that is the 3rd time tonight that Sosa's gone down swinging. Well, it's up to Mike Morgan to even the series tomorrow night. And Anthony Young, who's lost 19 in a row, but who started and pitched a very fine game against the Cubs in Chicago, it was not the pitcher of record, will go for the Mets. Sanchez, 2 out of 3. Oh, and 2.
Ray has been the only right-hand hitter to have any kind of cut at all against Dwight Gooden tonight. And he's done a very good job against him.
28 years old. Dwight Gooden, look out. Fastball inside. Boy, he comes right over the top. And his fastball just rises. A rising fastball. Another fastball hit on the ground. Fernandez to the way. Over the last 4 innings, Gooden has never faced more than 3 men. Only 1 man reached base, and he was erased in a double play.
Candy Maldonado best tune it up against Doc, who's going to be in high gear facing him.
Maldonado with 2 out. A pinch hitter for McElroy. Ooh, boy, what a curveball. They appeal, and he says that Candy went around. Fouls this one off. It's hard to believe that Doc Gooden looked any better than this before he was hurt, before he had that operation, because he looks tremendous right now. Everybody's on their feet. Foul the back. And Candy Maldonado had a good swing of the fastball. Castillo started and gave up all the runs, but won 6 runs in the 2nd inning. Oh, and 2 the count. The game is over. He struck them out. And Gooden wound up, striking out 8 for the ball game. We'll be back in a moment. Remember, the news follows immediately. The Buick game summary shows victorious Mets. 7 runs, 12 hits, 2 errors. For the Cubs, 2 runs, 7 hits, 1 error. The winning pitcher, Dwight Gooden, 7-4. The loser, Frank Castillo, 1-4. Home runs, Wilkins and Grace, both for the Cubs. And Dwight Gooden, look at that. For his career, 26-4 against the Cubs, 15-1 at Shea Stadium. The Budweiser playing tonight. The man who drove in the first run, and that's Hojo Johnson. And this base hit put the Mets out in front 1-0, and of course they were never headed. There's your Budweiser play of the night. We'll be back following this announcement. Remember, the news comes up in a moment. Our next telecast on Channel 9 will be between the Cubs and the Mets tomorrow night. Our telecast begins at 6:30 Chicago time. Stay tuned now for the news. Harry Caray from Shea Stadium. The final, the Mets 7, the Cubs 2. So long, everybody.
Chicago Cubs baseball on Channel 9. The Cubs are brought to you by Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. True Value Hardware Stores. Got a tough job to do? You can do it with True Value Hardware Stores. Buick and your local Buick dealers. Remember Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. And by the Chicago Tribune, Chicagoland's choice for sports, daily and Sunday.
Now to baseball. A year ago at this time, the Philadelphia Phillies were 3 games under 500. Now, with basically the same team, but with a lot less injuries, the Phillies are 22 games over the even mark. Monday night, the major's best up against one of the league's hottest in the Houston Astros. Former College World Series star Greg Swindell looking for win number 6. Gets some help from his defense in the third. A scoreless game. Lenny Dykstra on first. Mariano Duncan doing the job. Lenny trying to score from first. The perfect rally here from throw from Andújar Cedeno to the maskless Scott Service. Nails. Exciting play, huh? Phillies didn't let that stop them. Down 1-0. Duncan again the shot. Lenny chugging around third. This time he scores. Duncan with a triple. We're tied up at 1. Bottom of the 7th, Duncan facing Brian Williams after Dykstra intentionally walked. Mariano says you shouldn't have done that. Wes Chamberlain scores. Lenny close behind Phillies built a 7-1 lead. They hung on to win the game 7-5. For the Phils, their 11th win in their last 14 games. Mariano Duncan, the obvious difference, not bad considering he had a sore throat, a runny nose, and a headache. Now, let us check out what's happened to Jeff Bagwell at the plate over the last 9 games. This guy was so hot for Houston, and now he's not, just hitting a .3, not a single homer, and just 2 runs batted in his last 9 games. But the Astros still have managed to win 7 of those 9. In San Diego, the Pods up against Steve Avery and the Braves. There is Dave Justice sending a fly ball Phil Clark's way. That was good news for the Braves and bad news for Phil Clark. His second error in as many days. 2 runs come in on that miscue. Braves get the jump on the Pods 2-0. Next batter, Ron Gant. This one a solid hit off Andy Bennis. Terry Pendleton and Justice score. 4 runs in the 3rd, all unearned for the Atlanta Braves, 4-0. 9th inning, Steve Avery cruising along. Fred McGriff, the line drive. Ron Gant is there to make the gorgeous play. A 4-hitter for Avery, his first shutout and complete game in close to a year. 4-0 the final. It was Avery's 6th straight decision that he has won. He also had 2 hits, including a double. Heck, a lot better than his teammate Deion Sanders, who's in an 0-for-17 slump. Just off their first sweep, the Marlins moved to L.A. They were down 2-1 in the 4th. That is Aresta Destrade, homering off Oral Hershiser. We are tied at 2. Bottom of the 5th now. Jose Offerman doing the job right through the legs of Ryan Bowen. Oral Hershiser hustling in. 3-2 Dodgers. It stayed that way until the 9th. Todd Worrell having trouble on the mound. Briley on second. Jeff Conine finds room off Worrell. Greg Briley scores. We are tied at 3. The Marlins just don't quit. Next batter, Walt Weiss singles to left off Worrell. Conine scores to make it 4-3. Tommy cannot believe this. It hasn't happened often for the Dodgers lately. The Marlins cruise and win at 5-3. Trevor Hoffman got the save. Brian Harvey was with his dad, who's undergoing heart surgery. The day after completing their first sweep ever, the Marlins come up with their first ever 9th inning comeback victory. Carl?
Go Fish. Last Wednesday, the Blue Jays and Angels were behaving like anything but Angels. An 18-minute brawl, part of the Jays' 7-6 win. Monday, Ed Sprague of the Jays and Chad Curtis of the Angels were each suspended for 3 games. Sprague has appealed and can continue to play until a league hearing. Curtis has until Tuesday to file his appeal. Monday night, the return of Kelly Gruber to Toronto. Gruber was booed every time he came to the plate, every time he took a breath. Gruber in the field. Well, he can't handle this shot from Eddie Sprague. So instead of booing, the fans start cheering. Angels playing D. John Olerud's base hit. Tim Salmon comes up with it. And he comes firing. Joe Carter is trying to score. And Greg Myers nails him. Robbie Alomar had a big night at the plate in the 8th off Scott Sanderson. He tees off his 7th home run of the year. And the Blue Jays take care of the Angels 4-2. They have won 8 of 9. Alomar 2 for 3, 3 RBIs. The West leading Royals hosting the Yankees. On the mound, Jeff Johnson making his first start of the season, and he is in trouble in the 1st. Ubi Brooks the shot. Bernie Williams can't get it. It's a double. It scores 2. Johnson lasts 1 1/3. Some defense for the other guy, Kevin Apier. Mike Gallego throws his bat, makes contact, and a great diving catch by Brian McRae. Jim Leyritz gone. Frank Howard and Buck Showalter can't believe it. The Royals win it 8-3 to make room for Bernie Williams. The Yanks sent Gerald Williams to Columbus. Elsewhere, the alphabet game in Baltimore. The A's and the O's, and Johnny Oates still feeling some pain from Sunday's brawl. The best medicine provided by Harold Baines. Deep to right off Bobby Witt, and it leaves. It's a 2-run blast, his 2nd of the year. We're tied at 2 in the 8th. Drew Skosigin. Mike Devereaux is on 2nd. Chris Hoyles goes to right. So Ruben Sierra goes home. Devereaux stays at 3rd, but there will be a play at 2nd, and Hoyles appears to be out. Ken Kaiser calls him safe. Devereaux at 3rd. We take a closer look and shows not only was the ball there, so was the glove. The call was costly as Devo later scored on the sac fly. O's win 3-2. They've won 5 straight and 6 of 7. Welcome back and back to baseball. Any hard feelings New Yorkers have towards Chicago could be vented Monday night at Shea as the Cubs come to town. Granted, this series has absolutely nothing to do with basketball, but New York is a down city, and this game all but assures a positive turn. While there is no such thing as a sure thing, Dwight Gooden pitching against the Cubs is darn close. The Doc has a lifetime 25-4 mark against Chicago. To Shea, Jeff Kent, the adventure continues. Top of the first, Mark Race. Jeff Kent can't come up with it. Next batters, Derek May and Jeff Kent. Another error. Cubs load him up. The Cubs go back to the place they've had success. This time, Jeff Kent comes up with it. No, he doesn't. It's a hit anyway. Bottom of the second, the Mets are up 2-zip. Jeff Kent at the plate. He can't make an error. A single to left scores Joe Orsulak, part of a 6-run inning for the Metropolitans. Top of the ninth, 7-2. Doc Gooden, Candy Maldonado, frozen. Gooden strikes out 8, and the Mets win 7-2. The Doc's record against the Cubs improves to 26-4. At Shea, he is 15-1. To Montreal, Reds and Expos, happy to have Hal Morris back in the lineup. Bottom of the first, John Smiley on the hill. Marquise Grissom at the plate, and Marquise goes to left. And watch this, off the top of the wall. Despite the argument that ensues, it's a home run. It's his 8th, it's 2-1 Expos. Top of the second, the Reds' top offensive threat, John Smiley. Single to left. Jeff Branson was on, he comes across, 2-2. Smiley again, and it's another hit. John Smiley, impressive. How many hits for John Smiley tonight? 4. Final score, the Reds, 12. Montreal, 3. Bip Roberts, good night, 3 doubles. Elsewhere, Linda's turn.
Smiley found out a way to win. Hit it himself. It might be tough to fathom, but the usually high-powered Detroit Tigers were just hitting 200 and change during a 10-game stretch. This was before Sunday, when Cecil Fielder drove in 7 in an explosion over the Angels. Monday, Cecil and the rest of the AL East leaders were in Chicago, where another big man was making an impact. Bottom first, Tigers were up 2-0 against Mike Moore. There is the big man I was speaking of, Frank Thomas, going deep. For the 9th time this year, it tied up the game at 2. To the 5th we go. Tigers 2 on. No problem, though, for Chicago rookie right-hander Jason Beret facing Travis Fryman. There's 1 strikeout. Up next, Cecil Fielder. By Cecil, that's another. And then here comes Kirk. 3 straight Ks for Mr. Beret. 9 in 6 innings. We're still tied at 2. 6th inning, Sox up by 1, 2 on for Dan Plesac, who takes a Mike Moore fastball right down the middle, right out of the park. A 3-run shot. Plesac's 3rd home run of the year. Chicago goes on to make a loser of Moore, and they win 7-3. Beret now 2-1 in his major league career. Both wins against the White Sox. Mike Moore now 0-8 in his last 9 starts against Chicago. Those Fighting Mariners, losers in Milwaukee. A 3-run triple by B.J. Surhoff, the difference. The Mariners lose their 4th straight, and their first in 4 games started by Dave Fleming. The Twins in Texas. Bottom of the 5th, runner on first. Rangers already up 5-2. That is Dean Palmer, and that is what he does best, hitting home runs. His 15th of the year. He did that in a 25-mile-per-hour wind. Rangers were up 7-2. Meanwhile, Texas was playing some great defense. Shane Mack testing it. Rangers go around the infield for the 5-4-3 DP. Meantime, Roger Pavlik looking for his first complete game. He was awesome, facing Kirby Puckett with the bases loaded. Puckett had 5 straight hits against Pavlik. Right before that swing for a strikeout, Rangers win the game 8-2. Rafael Palmeiro helped Pavlik out with his 8th home run. The first game in their last 7 that the Rangers have hit double digits in hits. Monday, a great day for Cleveland. Their game against Roger Clemens postponed. And their best pitcher, Charles Nagy, threw without pain. He'll pitch in a double-A game on Thursday.